Hi, everyone. Happy Monday morning. Hope everybody's having a great start to the work week. We're here live in studio right now. We've got some stuff going on behind me. This is going to be a pretty quick live stream because those folks have to come back in and set up some new monitors that we're setting up here in studio. But again, just wanted to provide you guys an update. We got the latest Storm Prediction Center outlook hot off the presses. Came out about 10 minutes ago. All latest information from the SPC. Our thinking really hasn't changed a whole lot with this storm system, but still some interesting trends to watch very, very closely. And again, I hope everybody's having a great Monday so far. So let's get right to it. I got a limited amount of time, so we've got to talk about the system again, starting to churn across the desert Southwest right now. A lot of energy to attend to with our storm potential for tomorrow morning. Again, the moisture is starting to return to the north. We kind of had this blocking pattern for moisture earlier this morning with the stationary front that was located over portions of Texas and Oklahoma. Now we've got this front lifting off to the north right now. We've got this stationary front also lifting north as well. And this is the catalyst for that moisture return over our weather coverage area with those southerly winds. And you can see that here. Dew points generally in the lower to middle 50s from Oklahoma City down to Dallas, even higher dew points in portions of southern Texas. Dew points starting to rise in northwest Arkansas as well, upper 30s to lower 40s from Springfield to Fayetteville. And this is that plume of deeper moisture that will lead to the potential for showers and storms as we move throughout tomorrow morning. Having said that, the main severe weather risk remains off to our south and east. Now, this graphic may not be as updated. Well, actually, it looks pretty perfect to me. The highest in severe weather threat remains over southern Arkansas, East Texas, northern Louisiana, western Mississippi, and even portions of western Alabama. So a bit of an uptrend for portions of the deep south. And it makes sense. The better instability is going to be located over these areas. Having said that, the dynamics of the system could lead to severe weather potential over northwest Arkansas and the River Valley as well. So in the latest day 2 outlook, that slight risk has actually expanded a little bit farther to the north. So now pretty much every single county in Arkansas and in northeast Oklahoma, at least our Oklahoma counties, are under that level 2 out of 5 slight risk for severe weather. We still have that level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for southwest Missouri, but notice how that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk has expanded a little bit farther to the west, and that's because of the instability. The instability is going to be greater in these areas here. Now, you may be thinking, all right, slight risk has expanded north. That means the tornado potential has gone up. Well, not necessarily the case. In fact, this slight risk is purely driven by the damaging wind potential. So the risk for damaging winds is actually lifted a little bit farther to the north and west, which is why Benton County, Delaware County is now included in that slight risk, with even a higher end threat for damaging wind gusts over portions of southern LaFleur and southern Scott County. So the entire area now has that slight risk potential for damaging winds. The hail threat has gone down. It makes sense because we're dealing with a line of showers and storms rather than individual supercells. So still could see hailstones up to quarter size, but hail's not going to really be a big concern. And if you're wondering about the tornado potential, it has gone down for most locations in our weather coverage area. So earlier this morning, we had that tornado potential, this brown shaded area that included portions of northwest Arkansas, generally along the Bobby Hopper Tunnel and areas south. Now, that low tornado threat extends from the I-40 corridor in and around Fort Smith, areas farther southwest, with a very low threat for tornadoes over northwest Arkansas. And here's the even better news. The QLCS that's moving through the area doesn't have any instability to work with. So we're not going to be dealing with the high-end threat for tornadoes there. But the cold core setup, what I mean by cold core setup is as that low pressure system lifts off to the north and east, those dynamics are going to be a little bit greater in portions of Missouri. So the tornado potential in these locations will not extend into northwest Arkansas. So there is this potential for some supercells in these areas here as that low pressure lifts off to the north and east tomorrow afternoon. And because the dynamics will be greater in this area and there will be a little bit of instability to work with in these areas as well, there is a low-end tornado threat in these locations. But for northwest Arkansas, we're kind of in between the greatest risk for QLCS potential, which is over southeast Oklahoma, and the cold core setup, which is up in Missouri. So we're kind of in between those, which is fantastic news. And I think it makes sense. It just makes sense with that narrow corridor of instability trying to work its way into the area. We'll show you that in just a minute. But here's a look at the timing. I didn't make any changes to it. It's the same exact timing that you saw yesterday, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's going to be the sweet spot for shower and storm potential, really mainly during the morning hours in northwest Arkansas. Even the early afternoon might be stretching it, but you never know. Sometimes these systems can slow down a little bit. But 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. just west of the I-49 corridor, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. right along I-49, portions of Interstate 40 in and around the Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Bentonville, and Rogers area, and then even farther east towards Harrison, Jasper, Clarksville, Boston Mountains, River Valley areas, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So, again, this system will be moving through during the morning commute tomorrow. It's both good news and bad news, right? I just stated the good news. The instability is going to be lacking. The timing of the system does help us out. Bad news is a lot of you folks are going to be heading off to work and school tomorrow as these storms are knocking on our doorstep. So, got to make sure you're taking it nice and easy. The winds are going to be whipping. There could be quite a bit of lightning, very heavy rainfall, ponding on the roadways, those normal hot spots, Garland Avenue, Fulbright Expressway, Weddington Drive, Walton Boulevard, those areas that are always a challenge to navigate when it's raining, going to be a challenge once again with this system. So just make sure you're aware of that as you head off to work and school tomorrow. But here's the timing of the system. First of all, look at these temperatures. Middle to upper 50s, overnight tonight to early tomorrow morning. Not uncommon for a severe weather day to have temperatures in the middle to upper 50s this time of year, at least during the morning. But remember, if you want to get big time severe weather potential, usually you got to have that happen in the afternoon hours so you can get that instability. Temperatures are not rising a whole lot according to this model as we move throughout the morning hours. And it just makes sense. If we're in the middle to upper 50s, lower 60s, that's not going to get it done for tornado potential, especially QLCS tornado potential and instability. But there's those showers and storms. 7 a.m., you're starting to see them knock on our doorstep across northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. It's going to be a fast-moving line. So by 8, 9 a.m., you're already starting to see these storms along the I-49 and Interstate 40 corridors. So that's why it's imperative that you take it nice and easy on those roadways. Very heavy rainfall, damaging wind potential certainly there. And, again, we'll watch for these little spin-ups, especially along the I-40 corridor. Northwest Arkansas, again, there is that very low threat, but if there's anywhere in our weather coverage area that has maybe a higher threat for those QLCS tornadoes, it's going to be in the River Valley south of the I-40 corridor. But look how quickly this line is moving through the area. This model wants to push it out by 11 a.m. It's already pushing out of Boone County, Newton County, a little bit farther south towards Franklin and Johnson County, already starting to push out of those areas by 11 a.m. Now, that won't be the end. And it won't be the end for me as well, because I'm going to be going up to Missouri after this and trying to chase me some cold core setup supercells. But for Northwest Arkansas, we just don't have those favorable dynamics like they have in those locations. So temperatures in the upper 40s to lower 50s by 7 p.m., maybe a few rumbles of thunder, maybe some scattered showers trying to push to the area. So 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. could see that scattered shower activity once again in Northwest Arkansas. But that will not be the last of the energy, because we've got one more piece of energy that tries to push to the area during the overnight hours. And it makes sense. This is that wraparound precipitation with that low pressure system. So rain-snow mixture, certainly not out of the question, right around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Notice those temperatures, though. A little bit above freezing, maybe just a touch below it. But because we've been so warm over the last several days, because this will be a quick-moving area of rain and snow, and also because the temperatures, again, are marginally at or above freezing, we won't see a whole lot of accumulation potential. So this is not going to cause a whole lot of impacts during your morning commute on Wednesday. Having said that, still could see a dusting on those cars and elevated surfaces tomorrow morning, so make sure you're keeping an eye on that. But Wednesday morning, not going to be a big deal. So if you're still on here, Diana, no issues at all. No issues at all for Wednesday morning. There will be the potential for some rain and snow Wednesday morning, but not going to be a big deal. Not going to be anything you have to worry about. So that's what we're looking at in terms of this system. Again, pretty much like 3 rounds of showers and storms, really, if you think about it. You've got or 3 rounds of precipitation. You got the severe weather potential in the morning. Again, I'll be here watching this very closely. QLCS type setup. This should be out by the time we get to the afternoon hours on Tuesday. Another area of scattered showers possible along that low pressure right around 4 to 8 p.m. That will move out, and then we get one last little burst of rain and snow during the overnight hours Tuesday into early Wednesday morning. So that's what we're cooking with right there in terms of the storm system. But again, instability just going to be lacking. like basically zero instability in some cases, which again, if there's no instability, it doesn't matter what dynamics you have. It doesn't matter what wind shear you've got. And the wind shear is insane. It normally is insane this time of year. The thing is about the springtime, what you're always looking for, right? And this is just a good rule of thumb as we move throughout the rest of spring and we have these severe weather setups. In February, March, that time frame, the shear and the dynamics really are never in question. What's in question is how much instability, how much fuel for shower and storm development do we have? Do we get warm enough for it to matter? In April and May, June, instability is never really a concern most of the time. Temperatures are in the 70s, 80s, right? Dew points are surging into the 60s and 70s. Bam. You're getting plenty of instability, big time instability. But sometimes the dynamics of the system are not there. The wind shear is not there, though normally that's not the case because in April and May and June, there's a reason why those months are our primary severe weather season because you do have the shear that overlaps with that instability most of the time. But normally that's going to be your question. Do we have enough wind shear? Do we have enough of those dynamics, right? Changing the winds with height? Because instability is always going to usually be there already. So that's just something to watch as we move throughout the rest of springtime. But again, look at the instability. Quite a bit of instability in portions of Oklahoma today. In fact, I am concerned about QLCS tornado potential in those locations. I'll show you the latest day one outlook, but it's uptrended quite a bit for central Oklahoma. But watch, this narrow band of instability falls apart as it pushes into northwest Arkansas. And that's why the overall severe weather threat has gone down for our area. Having said that, look at this. During the afternoon hours, a little bit of instability nosing its way into Missouri. And this is not uncommon because you've got this cold core setup going on in those locations, and that's why they could have an arc of supercells that may produce tornadoes. But that's not going to be over our area, I don't think. I think that'll be off to our north and east. So again, kind of in between these setups here. You got the big-time QLCS setup in southeast Oklahoma, eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And then you got the cold core setup off to our north and east. But again, northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, just not seeing a whole lot of that instability. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to be here tomorrow morning watching these storms very closely. We'll live stream and keep you safe. But I think the severe weather potential, at least in terms of that tornado threat, is going down for northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. And again, you can see that reflected here on the day 2 tornado outlook. So that's what we're cooking with. Let's get to some questions here and some comments. Edward's here, ready to rock and roll. Love that. Absolutely. Ozark Mountain Peak. Thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely love that. Lisa, thank you for joining in as well. Nikita, tomorrow's my dog Riley's birthday. Tomorrow in heaven, he'd be 13 years old tomorrow. Well, Nikita, we're wishing a happy birthday for Riley in heaven. Loved Riley and Chip. You know, you got some brand new pups as well. Loved getting pictures of Riley and always love getting pictures of your dog as well, Nikita. So we really appreciate that and sending a birthday wish to Riley in heaven for tomorrow. And Melissa, yep, you said it best. Fantastic news. Again, you know, and the tornado risk is not high in Missouri. I'm not pretending like it's higher than our area, especially in the River Valley, but it's a cold core setup. And a lot of times I see these overproduce. And they usually do produce these tornadoes on the backside of these systems around the surface low. But we're not going to have that setup over northwest Arkansas. The main QLCS setup will also be to our south. But we're still going to watch this very closely. It's still going to be a pretty nasty line of showers and storms with the heavy rain threat as you're driving off to work and school. Yeah, thanks, Edward. Appreciate it. I think I'll be fine getting into work tomorrow because I usually come in right around 2, 3 o'clock. I should be fine. But a lot of folks that are leaving at 7, 8, 9 o'clock really going to have to keep an eye on this because it could be pretty dicey on the roadways. Yeah, thanks. So Nikita, is Hot Springs, Arkansas going to have bad storms tomorrow? So Nikita, they have a better chance. I will say the severe weather potential is going down for Hot Springs as well because the instability, again, it just kind of falls apart as it moves into those areas. And that's why the tornado risk, the main tornado risk is in portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Because these areas will have that instability to work with. And they'll also have the crazy wind shear. Whereas a place like Little Rock and Hot Springs, the tornado threat's going down a little bit because that the instability is lacking in those locations. So that's why the tornado threat has gone down overall, really, for much of the state of Arkansas. I think the main tornado threat is going to be south of Arkansas, to be honest, looking at the latest trends. Let's see here. Alex Hall, probably not likely, but would it be blizzard criteria with those winds with that rain snow mix? Probably won't last 3 hours, though, I guess. Well, Alex, you know, you got to have obviously the winds, right? And the winds will be there. You have to have the visibility that's below a quarter of a mile as well for 3 hours. I just don't know if we're going to reach that point. Here's the deal. If we even have blizzard type conditions, it's not going to accumulate a whole lot because of how warm it is and because those temperatures are either just a little bit below freezing, like marginally, like 31, 32 degrees, or still above freezing in many cases. Having said that, could have some blowing snow, some wet snowflakes blowing around during Wednesday morning. That's certainly not out of the question on the backside of the system. But it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be quite blizzard criteria just because I don't think it's going to last long enough. But we'll see. The visibilities could be a problem Wednesday morning. Even if the snow doesn't accumulate, could still see some problems. So that's a good mention right there. Teams across all of Arkansas will be traveling for state basketball in Hot Springs. So similar to what I just mentioned, Melinda, if I go here and I take a wider view of this shower and storm activity. So let's go for the graph, for example. So look at those showers and storms moving into northwest Arkansas during the morning hours. It'll be quickly moving through portions of central Arkansas as well. So right around 9, 10, 11 o'clock, it's already starting to push through portions of Hot Springs. I think it should be out of Hot Springs by the time we get to the afternoon hours. So 2, 3 p.m., I think you're sitting pretty. Again, the wraparound precipitation is going to be in northwest Arkansas during the early morning hours on Wednesday. So that shouldn't be an issue for central Arkansas. So really, showers and storms moving through central Arkansas at a very similar time frame to our area, between generally 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., maybe at the latest. But after 2 p.m., most of those showers and storms will be out of Hot Springs as well. Let's see here. Wish I was in Arkansas for this. Why you had a bit of a severe weather setup earlier this year up in Kentucky as well. So there'll be plenty more. I'm telling you, there'll be plenty more. And honestly, not the best setup to chase. I will say this, Wyatt. If you can, go out and chase in Central Missouri tomorrow. I really think that is an underrated setup. If I was choosing a spot to chase tomorrow, I would not chase that southern mode. Forget eastern Louisiana, western Mississippi, garbage terrain, garbage storms. Get up there in Missouri and see if you can find some cold core magic, because it's certainly a possibility. Certainly a possibility. Michael joining while at work on the clock. Michael, appreciate you joining in. Really, really appreciate that. Amanda, you speak so much like Dan. I see the influence. Well, Amanda, I've been watching Dan for a long time, and I always remind him of that. And I think I got a lot of influence from him for sure. And he's a legend, that's for sure. He's one of the best in the business. So I'm really happy to be working with him and working with this great team, Zach and Peyton. Absolutely fantastic team that we've got here at KNWA and Fox 24. So, Caden, the snow is showing more accumulation on Wednesday morning. Cold front's going to be a little bit stronger. With only 0.05 inches of rain, we can still get like an inch. Certainly, Caden, if the precipitation rates are heavy enough. Problem is that they have to be heavy enough. Like it can't be like that light snow falling for 3 hours. It's got to be a heavy, wet snow. Now, that is a possibility. The backside of the system, a lot of the times the models can underdo that. There's no doubt about that. So let's take a look at maybe what some of the models are pumping out. So there's the graph. It's showing about a half inch, 0.2 of an inch in northwest Arkansas. This is going to be a northwest Arkansas event. European, very similar story. GFS, very similar. So every single model is showing snow in some form or fashion. They am a little bit more aggressive for southwest Missouri. But here's the deal, Caden. Again, it's the temperatures. The temperatures is what gives me pause with this setup. You can get accumulation on the cars and the elevated surfaces and the bridges and overpasses. But can you get it on the roadways and stuff like that? Yeah, I don't think so. And the reason why is just because it's so warm. It's still in the lower to middle 30s, right? You're marginally below freezing at best, but most locations will be above freezing. So you have to have that heavy, 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 heavy precipitation rates in order for that to be the case. And I just don't see it lasting long enough. And once the snow ends, it's done. There's not going to be any more problems on the roadways. It has to be falling for problems to occur on the roadways. So if it ends at 4 or 5 o'clock, that's perfect because then, bam, it's melted off the roadways. There's no issues on the roads. But it could surprise you. It could surprise you. So, Caden, you make some good points here. This could be a snow that surprises you Wednesday morning. So you got to make sure you're taking it nice and easy because if it is heavy enough, that can cause some issues. Let's see here. Daniel said it best. It is a beautiful day to walk around the neighborhood today. Absolutely. Get outside, folks. It's a great day. Great day. I wish they had the Razorback baseball game today, but of course they do need their rest. Man, Razorback baseball tomorrow. Woo! You better pack your rain jacket. You better pack some coats. You better be ready to rock and roll because that wind is going to be whipping, and I think there will be a little bit of precipitation on the backside of that system that could cause a few problems there at Baum-Walker Stadium. But thankfully, the big severe weather setup, or if we get any severe weather, it's really not a big severe weather setup, but if we're going to have severe thunderstorms, it's going to happen during the morning hours. Let's see here. Congratulations to the team on most accurate by weather rate for the second consecutive year. Edward, thank you so much. We are very proud of that. We really appreciate that shout out. It's good. It's good to see that. A lot of the guys here, man, we got a great team, hardworking individuals, and the best chief in the business, Dan Scott. So really, really appreciate that. Some great stuff there. And here's a look at the winds, by the way. You know, people were talking about the winds. Yeah, Rebecca, there's going to be some strong winds. We're already starting to see it ramp up across our weather coverage area. Southerly winds between 15 to 25 miles per hour likely. Now, this model overdoes things just a little bit. So I will say that. It's not going to, I don't think we'll have 45 mile per hour wind gusts today, but we could certainly have wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour tomorrow. Certainly a possibility. And again, these are non-thunderstorm wind gusts. So you can get some pretty strong winds with this. And people who are talking about potential blizzard criteria, look at the winds on the backside of this system. Now, it's not going to be this strong, but look at those winds on the backside of the system. I mean, 40, 45 mile per hour gusts, certainly possible in northwest Arkansas. I would say even 50 mile per hour gusts in southwest Missouri. I mean, this model is showing 62 mile per hour gusts in Harrison. Are you kidding me? Now, I don't think that will happen, but this is on the backside of the system. Again, on the backside of this low. That can cause some blinding snow if we do have any snow across our area. So it is something to watch very closely for Wednesday morning. Not talking about significant accumulations. Again, I'm saying it now. I don't want to see any emails. No emails from people. No messages from people. I am not forecasting a big-time snow event in northwest Arkansas Wednesday morning, but I am saying that visibilities could be dicey Wednesday morning with these very strong winds. This might be the top story right here. I mean, the severe weather potential's there, right? But the instability's lacking. We know it's going to be windy. This might be the top story for folks Wednesday morning and really over the next 24 to 48 hours. That is concerning. So, man, oh, man, we got to watch that very, very closely for portions of northwest Arkansas. Let's see here. Good point on the winds, by the way. And we did need to talk about that because to me, that might be the top story with this particular event. Yeah, exactly, Caden. I think grassy surfaces for sure, top cars, elevated surfaces, bridges and overpasses sometimes can cause some issues, but visibilities might be reduced Wednesday morning quite a bit. We'll have to watch that very, very closely. I'm definitely going to come into work early to avoid that. Let's see here. Yeah, absolutely, Dara. Yeah, you know, I always get hyped. I always get excited talking about weather. It doesn't matter what kind of weather we have. I really, really appreciate that. I love working here and love getting to talk about it with you guys every single morning. So I really appreciate that kind comment. Let's see here. Typical Arkansas, storms in the morning, snow in the evening on the same day. Exactly, Alex. You just got to love it. Just got to love it. Oh, look at this. Ryan Lemery joining in. And Ryan Lemery, my storm-chasing partner in crime, going to be moving back up to northwest Arkansas pretty soon, I heard. So we'll have Ryan on the Storm Spotter team. He'll be ready to rock and roll. And Ryan, I might need to call you up. I might have some cold core chasing to do tomorrow afternoon. I don't know. It's tempting me in Missouri. That's the spot to chase, in my opinion. But don't tell anybody that. Don't tell the other storm chasers that. I want them to all go down to Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi. They can go chase down there. I'm going to see if anything happens in Missouri tomorrow. It's interesting. Let's see here. That's some wild winds. Think I might bring in the bird feeders tonight. I think that's a good move right there. That is a good move. Hey, look at that. Dan Scoff tuning in on Twitter. Thanking some folks for the kind words there. Dan, the weather man, ready to rock and roll. And yeah, Dan, you're seeing this. I mean, again, these models overdo the winds. So you usually subtract about 10 to 15 miles per hour off the winds. That's still 40 to 50 mile per hour gust in some spots. It's certainly possible Wednesday morning. I could see it happening. Yeah, it's a good point right here. At least it's in the day, not dark. Like to see what's coming towards me. Absolutely. We'll get some good views. Candy cane girl, Dan the weatherman. I love that. I love that. It just rolls off the tongue really easily, doesn't it? Dan the weatherman. So yeah, we'll be here watching it very closely. But a very good point right there from this comment. I'm glad it's coming through during the morning as well because it's a lot easier to see. You can actually see it with our WeatherBug Network cameras, and yeah, we'll be able to get some good video as well. It's that shelf cloud. I bet there's a gnarly shelf cloud tomorrow morning. I bet there will be a gnarly shelf cloud, especially with the fact that the instability at the surface is going to be lacking. So if we can get some elevated instability, that will give us a nice little shelf cloud feature there. So we'll watch that very closely tomorrow morning. I hope the storms aren't too bad in the morning. I have to take my mom in Fort Smith for chemotherapy. Well, Jeremy, I'm keeping your mom and you and the family in my prayers. Hope chemotherapy goes well. We're going to be thinking of you here and praying for you. So for the morning, the storms will be loud. There'll be quite a bit of heavy rainfall. Again, some damaging wind potential, a low-end tornado threat. But once we get to the afternoon hours, that should start to die down. So give yourself plenty of extra time tomorrow, Jeremy, depending on what time you're leaving. We'll be here watching it very closely. Tune in. We got you covered here on KNWA Fox 24. I'll be watching it. I'll have a live stream, and we'll get you through it. But again, Jeremy, praying for your mom, praying for the family. Hope everything's going well, and hope chemotherapy goes well. Thanks for tuning in and for that comment too. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, now the time that we had the car situation, that was not because we ran out of gas. I thought it was. It was actually because Brandon's car overheated. So, you can't really control that. When a car overheats, the car overheats. The gas was low, though, and I was not paying attention to the gas because I was going full steam ahead. The gas was low, but Brandon went back to his car and he got some coolant for the car, and it was overheated. Yeah, Colby knows the real story about that night. Look, we were chasing out. We had some high precipitation madness out in Oklahoma. Colby didn't want to chase it no more, so Brandon and I kept chasing. Then we came back home. I was gonna come back in, cover the storms and stuff like that, do a little bit of chasing for the station, and ended up having the car overheat. And so that was rough. And I still believe Brandon and I drove with the police officer through a tornado. I am pretty sure we were in a tornado, at least in the RFD. I mean, because there was debris hitting the police car as we were going south through Mountainburg. And sure enough, there was a tornado that went through that area. So honestly, that was fun. Hey, look at that. Dan's talking about it too. May 7th. I think that was May 7th too. I'll have to go back and look at the videos again. I'm pretty sure it was May 7th. I think you're actually right, Dan, because, again, Colby and I chased out there with Brandon, Matt, Ryan was out there. We were all chasing those high precipitation supercells out in Oklahoma. And, again, it wasn't gas. It was actually the car overheating. So I feel better about myself because of that, but I still wasn't paying attention to the gas, so we probably would have ended up running out of gas. I don't know. I was full steam ahead. I was like trying to get back up into Northwest Arkansas and just wasn't paying attention to the gas. But we had about 20 to 30 miles left in the tank. When Brandon turned the car back on, he went back down. He got the coolant and stuff like that, and he was able to get the coolant back in there. Yeah, exactly. There was a bunch of tornadoes on the ground, and we drove through one of them, man. That we got in that vehicle, we got in that police vehicle, and we went south. And I'm telling you, Brandon was like this the whole time. He was like that the whole time, and I do not blame him one bit because that was pretty crazy. I was speechless, to be honest with you as well. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this we are driving through like something right now." And I'm pretty sure we drove through that tornado that went through Mountainburg, or at least we're on the RFD on the backside of it because debris was hitting that police vehicle. It was actually absolutely insane. So yeah, it was May 7th. That was that was confirmed by Colby. What a crazy night of tornadoes that was in the River Valley as well. Yeah, absolutely, Jeremy. And yeah, I'll keep your brother in prayers as well. Oh man, yeah, we'll definitely keep him in his prayers for recovery and stuff like that. Really appreciate you always tuning in, man. Really appreciate you. Uh, yeah, David, talking about the enhanced. So I forgot to mention that. I was going to mention that there is an enhanced risk now in Oklahoma, and I think the severe weather potential for those locations tonight is uptrending quite a bit. This is a QLCS tornado fest type setup for Oklahoma. Not only do they have the insane wind shear and favorable, shear vectors and critical angles, but they also have the instability, especially 0 to 3 kilometer instability, which is a big deal with these QLCS type setups. They are definitely going to have that in place for central and southern Oklahoma. I've always been a big proponent of 0 to 3 kilometer instability. It's why I'm chasing up in central Missouri tomorrow. I think it's a great it's a great tool. It's a great parameter to see where that QLCS tornado potential is going to set up, and really tornado potential in general. That to me is a big indicator. Once I see that value go up over 75 and 100, I'm like, all right, it's time to chase. And this QLCS potential, very dangerous in central and southern Oklahoma and northern Texas tonight. I think there could be quite a few QLCS tornadoes in these locations tonight because they will have that instability in place. All right, Kinsey, let's give a quick recap. I do have to wrap this up because they're setting up a monitor and stuff like that and everything. So I'm going to give you a quick recap right now. So here's a look at the day 2 convective outlook again. Again, slight risk of severe weather for most areas. Level 2 out of 5. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. going to be the main time frame for showers and storms. Damaging winds by far the greatest concern. You can see that over northwest Arkansas. That's why we've seen the uptrend. That northern extent of that slight risk now includes Benton County and Delaware County. Large hail, not really a big threat because this is a line of storms that typically doesn't favor hail. But we still could see some small hailstones and maybe even scattered reports up to quarter of an inch in some spots. And then the tornado threat. It has actually gone down for northwest Arkansas, but still have technically a higher end threat for tornadoes along the I-40 corridor and areas south. But with that instability lacking, the main tornado potential is going to stay off to our south. Timing of the showers and storms, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in far western portions of our weather coverage area. So it'll be knocking on the doorstep of the I-49 corridor right around 8 to 9 a.m. So 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., that will be the sweet spot for Bella Vista, Bentonville, Rogers, Fayetteville, Springdale, Fort Smith area, Mountainburg, Winslow. Those locations right there will have a favorable setup. Let's see here. So here's a look at the future track radar. Some showers possible very early in the morning. Here comes that line of storms again, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But 2 p.m. may even be pushing it. This is going to be a very quick-moving line of showers and storms. So heavy rainfall during the morning commute, certainly a concern. Ponding on the roadways, that is something that you've got to watch very closely for tomorrow morning. Got to make sure you're taking it nice and easy. Look at those winds whipping up 10 to 25 miles per hour, wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour possible tomorrow morning. Definitely something we got to watch. As those showers and storms progress off to the east, they should be arriving in portions of Boone and Newton County right around 10 to 11 a.m. And then we'll be out of our weather coverage area by the time we get to the early afternoon hours. But we'll have another piece of energy come in between 4 to 8 p.m., I think, with some isolated to scattered showers and storms. So we'll watch that very closely as well. If you're heading to Baum-Walker Stadium, get the coats ready to rock and roll, get the rain jacket just in case, and get ready for maybe a little bit of a rain-snow mixture with very strong winds Wednesday morning. Again, accumulation is not going to be significant for Wednesday morning because temperatures will be just a touch above freezing, I think, in most spots. But with that northwesterly wind up to 30 miles per hour in some spots and gusts maybe up to 50 miles per hour, could see some blowing snow, some blinding snow, maybe near blizzard conditions in some locations with visibilities being reduced to less than a quarter of a mile. So Gotta watch that very, very closely for Wednesday morning as well. So that's what we're rocking and rolling with. Again, really appreciate that comment there, Kinsey. Glad we could do another recap. And Dan was talking about this. You can show how the surface moisture return over the area is from the east-southeast overnight instead of the southern trajectory, like what we'll see over there in Oklahoma. So this is true because look at this. Now, I'm going to kind of move this boundary around just a little bit because the boundary is not in this place anymore. It's more up here now. But that moisture right now, the stationary front is actually trapping some of that moisture to our south and west. So you can see the moisture return is a lot better in these spots. Look at that plume of moisture through Dallas and Oklahoma City. This is where that QLCS central kind of setup is going to be observed. And I can even quickly show a future track with the dew points here to kind of represent that. Now, we're still going to get some higher dew points in Northwest Arkansas, no question. But look at that. It's still not in place over Northwest Arkansas at 8 p.m. Folks, if you want to get a big-time severe weather setup in our area, typically the moisture needs to already be in place. And it's not in place until the last second. But look at that. Dew points in the lower to middle 60s overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning in central Oklahoma. Certainly could see some QLCS tornado potential in those locations. But dew points only in the middle 50s according to this model. For Northwest Arkansas. This is the RPM. Pretty good model, honestly, for dew points. And just not there. Just not in place for Northwest Arkansas, which is why the overall severe weather potential is a little bit lower. So, again, we'll keep an eye on it. I'll be here tomorrow morning. Dan, Zach, Peyton will be here watching things closely this evening, giving you an update. Kayla said it best, the joy of spring. Exactly right, Kayla. Absolutely, Kinsey. Really appreciate you joining in. David, appreciate you as well with all the kind words. And we're going to wrap it up. Edward, thank you so much as well. And Janie as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up about 40 minutes in. Again, guys, we'll keep you safe. We'll keep you posted. First severe weather setup of the year. It's not going to be the last one. Overall severe weather potential is lower over our weather coverage area, but not zero. And again, Dan, Zach, Peyton, they'll be here later on this evening with another live stream to keep you posted on the latest details. But for now, God bless you and have a great rest of your Monday, folks.